Hello again, this is William with CommanderCast.com, here doing another update to the alpha build. This time we are in Antiquities, the first real artifact heavy set that Magic came out with. So we've gone 2 and 1 sets, so this is our third set, Alpha, Arabian Nights, then Antiquities. So last week, learned quite a bit more about the cards that we had. It helps that we didn't have as many, just filler lands. We actually had some more action to do. Avacyn got to do a bit more, but what we really found out is that, one, I'm actually really happy with Avacyn. I looked over the amount of white commanders again, just to kind of be sure that there weren't any other options that I wanted to be going through this right now. And Avacyn, just as a 5/4 vigilant flyer, that can get in there in the air, beat down, hold up some defense, that's actually fine and good. Like, you could argue that the bigger Avacyn is a lot more powerful, and she definitely is, but just being 8 mana is such a turnoff for me. Like, the effect is incredibly potent and powerful, don't get me wrong, but I want my commander to come out a little sooner than that, and Avacyn Guardian Angel certainly does. She's heavier on the white, on the triple white, which is to say, cards like Basalt Monolith and Mana Vault don't help as much because they don't get her out that much faster because she has such a lower generic cost. We also found out that Avacyn is much more of a team player and much more dependent on her deck than some of the other commanders I'm going to be doing this with. She has the 2 mana to save other creatures. If you were watching the bonus video, we got to see some of the really cool interactions that has. We also got to see just how powerful the second effect can be. I'm just going to call it a limit break. Usually I use that term for Planeswalker ultimates. After the mana pool, it's a Planeswalker's limit break. That's kind of what Avacyn has right here with that 7 mana, prevent all the damage. I'm actually looking forward to the glasses that the Jaya Ballad players use, because they can use that to turn anything blue, and then Jaya can just go boom, blow it up. What I'm finding so far is that Avacyn is having a bit of trouble with all these Eldrazi that are running around now due to Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. So we're going to be looking to see if there are ways that we can go ahead and fix some color issues with those glasses. I think we have to wait till Urza's block to get those, though. So very happy with Avacyn so far. And we get quite a bit more toys with Antiquities going in. So going ahead to what we get for Antiquities specifically. Specifically, we get a lot more creatures. Just looking at a couple of the specific white creatures. There's Martyrs of Corliss, which actually interacts very well with the Ankh of Mishra. Ankh of Mishra is whenever a land enters the battlefield, deals 2 damage to that land's controller. But Martyrs of Corliss, as long as they're untapped, anytime an artifact would deal damage to me, it's dealt to them instead. So Ankh actually becomes this kind of one-way griefer effect that'll help slow down ramp spells, or ramp decks, or at least punish them for ramping out incredibly fast, while making sure that I can keep hitting my lands almost guilt-free, guilt-free, the rest of the game. So that'll be very interesting. It also, counts for stuff like the Steel Hellkite, or, I don't know, maybe a random Platinum Empyrean. Actually, what was the Blightsteel Colossus? Was he damaged? Yeah. So that should actually be dealt to the Corliss instead. Which, if we had the glasses that we're going to get in, again, I want to say Urza's block. We can use Avacyn, turn the artifacts into a color, and then give the Corliss protection from that. So at certain points, they're going to be like, Hasselhoff number 2. Kind of be a stunt double. So looking at other things, we do get, in fact, our 6 Circle Protection artifacts. Only put out a Moto in 5th Dawn, but that's fine. Like I said, we're grabbing the exact same copy, and I'm going to be playing with these cards as my personal collection, so why not get the art that I prefer? And this actually is not bad art. It's 2 mana to prevent damage from an artifact, but as we saw last week, some of the artifacts can be pretty nasty. We're looking at a couple of other utility artifacts. Very happy to have Felden's Cane. Just a basic recycling effect. It's not Elixir of Immortality, but it's almost as good. It's a 1-mana artifact. Tap, exile Felden's Cane, shuffle your graveyard into your library. So a great way to recycle a lot of the stuff that we have. If we have to go through another game, we go through half our deck without seeing a disenchant, and then use our disenchant. It's a great way to just recycle a lot of our 1-offs right now. Like, we only have the one Swords to Plowshares, we only have the one Wrath of God, there's a Nephrin Rolls disc, but we can recycle those effects now, and hopefully see them a little bit more. Ivory Tower's one of the new ones, and I don't know. Avacyn right now doesn't have the draw power to maintain a full hand size, so this will probably be better in something like an Azami deck, where we do draw a lot of cards and we can maintain a bigger hand size. I'm just kind of trying it out now because I want to get some life gain. I want to get some resiliency for late game once we start developing more powerful stuff and people start actually attacking us to try and deal with our threats. Right now we don't really have that. So talking about creatures that we get: Dragon Engine, Yoshi and Soldier, Wall of Spears. Those are just more guys that we can get. The Su-Chi is a 4-mana 4/4 that when it dies it makes 4 colors. So that's actually not the worst. I mean, if they go, at the very least it's going to give us mana to untap the Basalt Monolith for free, basically. It can help pay for some circle protections in case it dies or rats the boards, just stuff. And it combos with the Diamond Valley that we still have. We're still running stuff like Castle, which boosts toughness. Diamond Valley's still going to be here to be a sack island. If something's going to die, we can sack it and get life anyway, especially since we have, high toughness guys with wall spears and all that. The Veteran Bodyguard, the Mars Corliss. So Diamond Valley can actually get us a decent chunk of life. And the fact that we can actually combo it with the Su-Chi to kind of give us that brief spurt if we need it, that's actually a really cool trick that I like. We also get some more stuff that's heavy on the curve. That's another thing, is that the curve is a lot more even now. Before it was like, dude, really heavy on the 2 drops, really heavy on the 4 drops, almost nothing in the 3 drops. So, really happy to have a bit more of an even curve. We've got the Tetravis, which is a 1/1 flyer for 6, but comes into play with 3 1/1 counters. And at the beginning of my upkeep, I can turn those 1/1 counters into 1/1 Tetravites that are flying. And at the beginning of my upkeep, I also have the option of exiling any number of those tokens to give the 1/1 counters back to Tetravis. Honestly, I'm probably just playing it as a 6 flying 4/4. Because we do need guys, we do need beaters, and right now 4/4 is about the best we can get. I say about because we have a couple of other options now too. We have Shapeshifter, which we can change the ratio every upkeep, but the most powerful that we can let it be is a 6/1. The weakest we can let it be is just turn it into a 0/7 and just to have a really huge wall to maybe hold something off, sack it to Diamond Valley, boost our life by 7, which seems perfectly fine. Being a 6/1 is the most important part, though, because the high power, low toughness guys are the guys that Avacyn's going to love just chucking at people. They can go, okay, block it, well, 2 mana, my guy lives, your guy dies, and that just took down, whatever. The biggest one by far, though, is the Colossus of Sardia. This is the first one we have breaking 6 mana. So Colossus of Sardia is a 9/9 Trampler that doesn't untap during untap step. And we have to pay the 9 to untap Colossus of Sardia only during our upkeep. But that's actually kind of fine because of the Jandor Saddlebags that we have from Arabian Nights, which is pay 3, untap target creature. So we can do that at instant speed whenever our opponents attack or at the end of the person before us. And so a third of the cost to untap a 9/9 Trampler. That's going to be the kind of finisher that Avacyn needs right now. It'll probably be taken out for a more efficient Angel or something like that. I know for sure I'm going to love a Chroma when we get to Legions. But for now, Colossus Arcia adds some much needed finishing power to this deck. And finally, let's see, there are 2 more things that really go to this deck. A note about Meekstone is that now that we actually have more creatures, we're going to find out just how much Meekstone is going to hurt us or help us. Meekstone is going to be good if we can get more creatures vigilance or a way to enable vigilance. Something like that. Meekstone goes great with Avacyn. Doesn't really play as well with these guys. Although I suppose Colossus wasn't untapping anyway. We do still have the option of combining it with Jandor Saddlebags. So we'll see if that helps out. We do want to protect Avacyn. We have 2 ways to do that with Antiquities, which I'm very happy with. We have Tanos' Coffin, which is a 4-mana artifact that we don't have to untap it during our untap step. And the reason is because we can pay 3 to exile a target creature and all ores attached to it. And all the counters too. And basically, when Tanos' Coffin leaves the battlefield or becomes untapped, we're basically breaking open Superman's space shuttle, and out pops the creature however they were when they went into hypersleep. That's basically what it is. You're putting a creature into hypersleep, which is very important because we want to be able to protect Avacyn. We want to be able to help her dodge wrath effects, dodge spot removal, anything like that. And we don't get punished for when they destroy Thanos' coffin. I mean, granted, it's kind of sets up a delay trigger, so I guess they could go, okay, force you to activate to save Avacyn, in response naturalize it. I'm not quite sure if that would do it. I feel like it would. My judge templating instincts tell me that's actually how it works. It's a delay trigger. But we do have a way to protect Avacyn now, and that's actually really important and cool. And it has that really cool bonus of, hey, anything that you threw on her is gonna come back to it, minus like any equipment or anything like that. Fortunately, we won't get equipment until Mirrodin, so we won't have to worry about that too much. The other one being the Obelisk of Undoing, which is a 1-mana artifact, but it has an ability to cost 6 and tap. Return target permanent you both own and control to your hand. So we're not really going to be worrying about stealing stuff. Maybe when we get to the dark, we can add Preacher or something like that. But the Obelisk of Undoing is going to be one of those things where we're keeping up mana to activate Avacyn's Limit Break. But if we go Wrath, well, suddenly, the Limit Break doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and use that mana to bounce into our hand and more or less protect her. So having more things to do with Avacyn will, keep the game going, keep our resources strong. And if we get into the battlefield effects, it's a really expensive way to recycle them. Which, speaking of recycling, we have the Argivian Archaeologist, which is actually our first bit of, recursion that we have. 3 mana for a white tap, return her artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. We have artifacts that people do like to blow up. We have a lot of artifact, Neverwhelm's Disc is in fact a Wrath. So we can go ahead, use them to get back. So we have potentially 3 Wraths. I'm assuming that the Archaeologist, it will in fact die once he's gone. But we also just have a lot of creatures that happen to be artifacts now. This isn't going to be an artifact deck. These guys are going to get replaced by just more powerful white cards. But for now, we are doing a artifact heavy type of army something, I guess. So we might as well have it in there. We might also be able to get some some eggs or something like that. Blacksmith. And along the same line, we're gonna have creatures getting into combat if Avacyn can't help them. The preventing the next 2 damage that be dealt to artifact creatures this turn is a little more relevant than, say, the Semi Healer, who is still hanging around. You've also got Jalum Tome. And oh my god, this card is so much better than JDM Tome. Now, 8 mana to just draw a card that's got to be the worst, right? It's to pay to tap, draw a card, then discard a card. You're paying 5 to draw a card and then discard a card. But that's just a little over half of what you were paying for JDM Tome. And we have cards that are going to be dead sometimes, so it's not like we're not going to have stuff that we can't get rid of. Urza's Mine, Urza Power Plant, and Urza Tower. We are in fact running the Urzatron that came out with Antiquities. Avacyn, this is kind of a double-edged sword. Because on the one hand, Avacyn costs triple white to cast. Her effect is 7, so the Urzatron definitely helps. We can use the Power Plant and the Tower to help pay for those effects. So there's only 2 lands going into there. So 3, 4, 4. So it's kind of like tapping 4 mana for her effect. We have plenty of artifacts that we can power out too, like the Colossus or Sardia. But we don't have a way to search it out. And outside of the Howling Mine and the Jalum Tome, there aren't any, and I guess even the Bazaar of Baghdad. We don't have any ways to just kind of power draw them out. So we're kind of just trying this out. We'll see if it works. I want to say long term it's not, but for now, we do have a lot of artifacts, so it does help us power that out. We've also got the Mishra's Workshop, which is actually incredibly affordable on Moto if you've never played it on Moto. I think I only got it for, I want to say, about $5. Yeah, I got this for about $5 on Moto. So if you ever wanted to play vintage with the Mishra's Workshop, or even just play an artifact-heavy EDH deck like we're doing right now, go ahead and get the Mishra's Workshop. It's definitely going to be awesome. Particularly, again, with all of the artifacts. In fact, if I look at the mana subs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 29, 30, 31. Only a third of our deck really uses white mana, which is incredibly interesting. Let's see, the Mishra's Factory, I think, let's see, that should be the last real addition to this deck. You know, just for the fact that it is a man land, we want to get more creatures in there. I anticipate this being more of a control-y type build, just because that's what I have on paper. It'll be interesting to see what kind of changes and updates we make as we continue going. But man lands have traditionally been powerful. Even if it's just a 2/2, it still blocks us a 3/3. If we have to fight against Humility again, it will at least get around Humility. That is something. So, what are we actually cutting from all this? And, you know, I was going through the accounts, and we actually ended up cutting 22 cards. 17 of them were planes. You know, just because I didn't realize, you know, how many planes I had actually left into the deck. So now we're down to more of a 39 land count. I'm not really counting Diamond Valley and Bazaar Baghdad as lands. So we have 39 lands right now that actually produce mana. And the other cuts are just stuff that I was either frustrated with, you know, they weren't efficient, stuff that I've been watching for a while. Like, we cut Soulnet, that stupid artifact that gets you a life if you pay 1 whenever a creature dies. We also got rid of Island of Walk and Oasis, because I realized that unless the effects are powerful enough, like Diamond Valley and Bazaar Baghdad, I don't want to use a land drop for something so nominal as, you know, preventing 1 damage. You know, Maze of Ith is worth it. Diamond Valley and Bazaar Baghdad can be quite worth it. And some of Island Walkway just unfortunately doesn't make it. We've also cut out Conversion and Karma, you know, just more hate cards that I wasn't happy with. Whew. The Jade Statue. We got to try out, you know, 1 or 2 times. And the fact that you have to keep the mana open to kind of turn it into a creature just doesn't jive with me. You know, there's a lot of cards in here that were also under consideration that they're going to be great for other decks. You know, like Ashnod's Altar, Candelabra of Tawnos, Damping Field. Well, Damping Field also wasn't on Moto, but, you know, Ashnod's Altar and Candelabra. Those are really powerful effects, but they're not really effects that we want for this particular deck. This isn't going to be a ramp deck, so much as I anticipate being just kind of a defensive tempo. Kind of a dirtly intervention type deck. Like, the reverse damage kind of highlights what I want to try and be doing with this deck. You know, just cards that have cool interactions, especially with Avacyn. You know, the Veteran Bodyguard, the Banalish Hero. You know, cards like that are the cards I'm going to stick with Avacyn. So the other cards include stuff like Blaze of Glory, which, you know, just kind of sat around my hand. I never really wanted to cast it. Or I wanted to cast it, but there just never was a good time to really use it. It probably would have been better now that we have more creatures. But I decided that between that and Healing Salve, I wanted to try and give Healing Salve another chance. Because it's supposed to be one of those... It's just the one that disappointed you. It was if they're with Ancestral Recall, which is a power 9... You know, Giant Growth, Bolt, Dark Ritual are all staples. And there's poor Healing Salve. And we do want more ways to protect Avacyn, so it's a very nominal way, so we'll keep trying it. I haven't really seen it yet. We got rid of the Holy Strength and the Rod of Ruin. The Rod of Ruin was really sweet. It gave us, you know, a couple of good stories. But now that we just need more creatures. The Rod of Ruin will probably come back in something like Sidri. But for now... It's not doing anything for us. We got to cut the Savannah Alliance, but probably the Eye for an Eye, Ebony Horse, the Living Wall, which was the 0/6 for 4 that has pay 1 regenerate. I thought about putting some more regenerate guys in here just because they could, you know, trade, but you know, we have the luxury of being picky with the creatures, and I'd rather go with stuff that can attack, deal maybe a little bit of damage to like small tokens. or have some actual power like Suchi. I just said Suchi had actual power. It's a 4/4 for 4, but I just said Suchi had power. Wow. Welcome to what the set does to you. So the two big cuts, I think, though, are the fact that we got rid of Armageddon. I just did. You don't see Armageddon anywhere here, and I just did not want that button hanging over my head. I just didn't. Like, it's supposed to be there to help seal the win condition, but until we got out something like Colossus, or until we got something like Tetravis or Colossus RDL, something where we could just beat people, or even the Shapeshifter as a 6/1, Armageddon isn't a win condition. It's just a way to fight ramp decks when you fall behind and just kind of slow everyone way the hell down. And I don't want that. Maybe if we had a more aggressive deck like Aurelia or something like that, where we have a bunch of small weenie guys, we can Armageddon and just destroy everyone. But that's not the game I want to be playing, especially not with Avacyn. Avacyn's a guardian angel. I definitely feel like the theme and flavor of this deck is I want to help whoever's being beaten down. I want to help rally victory behind us and all that. So Armageddon and Avacyn just aren't going to be playing nice, especially since this is, in fact, the newer Avacyn, not the older one, where it's Herb the Turd, drop Avacyn, next turn Armageddon. You don't have lands, I still have lands, and everyone else just scoops. Just no. The other big one is that you'll see I don't have Mana Vault anymore, which is very interesting. I actually have Glasses of Urza and over Mana Vault, just because I kind of like peeking at people's hands to figure out what I need to do. We're not at a power level where we could just kind of bully people, but figuring out who's the threat and who we need to kind of protect, that's actually really cool. I like the Glasses of Urza. But there's the other thing about Mana Vault is that it's great at powering stuff out early, and we definitely have more artifacts. So you would think that, Mana Vault would finally get its time to shine. The thing is, though, we don't have any ways to really abuse Mana Vault. We don't have any sort of, Clock of Omens or Voltaic Key. And some of those cards aren't going to exist for a while yet. So there's just no real way for us to use Mana Vault other than to use it the way it was intended meant to be used, fairly. And when you use it fairly, Mana Vault just doesn't do a whole lot. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn 1, get out a Dragon Engine? Okay. I mean, I guess a turn 1 J-Loom Tome is okay, alright. But then it just keeps clicking me for 1. It's not Mana Vault bad, but still. And of course we also cut a desert because I just didn't want to get rid of more white sources. The Strip Mine, though. The Strip Mine is probably... Okay, yeah, this is definitely the last thing I'll be talking about. And that's the fact that Strip Mine is going to be in here forever and ever and ever. There's no way in hell I'm cutting a Strip Mine from this deck. It's just one of the best utility lands in Magic. It's going to get rid of Gaia's Cradles. It's going to get rid of Shrine of Nyx. It's going to get rid of the Urborgs and the Cabal Coffers. There are so many targets for Strip Mine that there's no reason not to be running it in every single Commander deck. It's not Armageddon. It's not Mass Land Destruction. It's land removal. And when you don't run stuff like Acidic Slime or Woodfall Primus, you really need to be running a Strip Mine to help deal with that stuff. Alright, I think that's actually just about it for now. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and play some games with this. I'll be right back with Game 1. This is William with CommanderCast.com. I'll see you in a bit.